Hey boys and girls, welcome to Chapel Day. I hope that you're excited and ready for another chapel. We have finished our series, our salvation series, where we talked about heaven and Jesus and the cross and resurrection, and then how to live the Christian life in a way that would please and honor the Lord, and being careful of what we see and think and say and do, all of that. Well, now we're just going to do some chapel lessons. We might do series again, but today is just a shorter, probably, lesson that I just wanted to share with you, something that I think is important for us to think about, remember, recognize, realize, because in our society today, in our world today, many people think, miracles. Miracles don't happen anymore. They were something that happened way back when Jesus was alive, and he did all these great miracles, but those things don't happen anymore, right? There's no miracles today. Or are there? There are times where there are miraculous things that happen almost every day, maybe not every day, but here's an example of a miracle. I don't know if you can really even tell what that even is. Yeah, it looks like a tooth, looks like a little rock, right? You might be like, what in the world is that, Miss Monroe? Well, let me give you another hint by showing you something a little bit different, and maybe you'll be able to figure it out. Can you see that? I know it's hard to see. Do you know what that is? I can't even hold it right. It's so small. It is, for some of you, you could recognize it's a seed. Well, seeds are pretty miraculous. They're pretty miraculous things, because you look at this thing and it's just a hard shell. Right now, there's not much to it. It's very hard. I can't do much with it. I definitely am not going to try to eat it. It'll break my teeth. Okay. It's just this hard shell. But in that seed, in this little bit right here and this one here, there's life. It doesn't seem possible that this hard little nugget of something, there's life in there. With the right conditions, these seeds will grow and produce plants. Have you figured out what kinds? I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to let you guess. Can you guess what that might be? Some of you might have gotten it. It looks like a little rock, right? Let's see if you got it right. If you guessed. Did you guess? Come on, just give a guess. Did any of you guess corn? Yes, it was a corn seed. So if I were to take that seed right now, put it in some soil, not Miracle-Gro third grade. We've been doing a thing in third grade that talks about Miracle-Gro, and they like to throw that in every once in a while, but not Miracle-Gro third grade. If we put it in just regular soil and put it in the ground with the right conditions, with some water, with the right amount of air, with a good temperature, that seed will sprout and grow some corn piece. So you would be able to have corn, and it wouldn't just grow one ear, it would grow a few ears of corn, which would make even more seeds. Well, that other seed that I had, you're like, that's just a brown whatever, Miss Monroe. What is that? Can you guess what that is? Some of you probably guessed some kind of what you think bean, right? Well, how about green beans, garden beans? Okay, that's what that brown little seed is. And so with, like I said, the right conditions, those seeds are a great example of life being tucked away inside something that you wouldn't expect. And the miracle that comes from when you put just the right amount of water and have the right amount of air, and the temperature is just right, and the sun is shining down, all of those things are going to make that sprout and become something wonderful. That seed will not be just that hard outer shell. It will be a beautiful plant. Well, just like we couldn't really tell what would be going on inside of here just by looking at the outside, we need to recognize the same thing about people. We can't tell what a person is like by just looking at the outside. And sometimes we have to be very careful because we kind of almost have trained ourselves to look at an outside of a person and say, oh, that person must be nice because they look like this. Oh, that person must be poor because they dressed or look like this. Oh, this person must be rich because, oh, this person's probably bad because they look like this. And many times we look at the outside of a person and that's how we judge them. But we need to be careful because just like we look at these seeds and we think, oh, there's nothing good that's going to come from that little thing could help to have some vegetables in your home. And when they grow, like I said, when I put this bean into the soil, it's not just going to grow one little bean sprout. No, it's going to grow several different bean sprouts on there and be a provision, a food provision. And so sometimes what my point is that we look at each other in our classrooms and we go, that's not my kind of person. That's not somebody that I think I'd like to be around. The way they act, they are always in a bad mood. They're always complaining. They have just a weird way about them, and I don't like how they look, so I don't think I'm going to be friends with them. Many times we judge a person by the outside, but we never get to know the inside of that person. And sometimes the inside could be one of the most special things that you'd ever want to see or know. And sometimes, I tell you, there are times in my life where I thought, oh, I'm only going to have these certain kinds of friends. And then other friends came into my life that I never would have expected. But they became even better friends than the certain ones that I thought I needed to have, that looked a certain way, that had a certain look about them. That's not what it's all about. Sometimes we get so fixated on the outside that we forget to look what's on the inside. We forget to recognize the potential that a person has. Even me as a teacher, I sometimes will look and say, I tease my students every once in a while, and I look at them and I'm like, guys, you got that right. You're smarter than you look. And they go, Miss Monroe, that's rude. Because I'm telling them that I'm not really, that they don't look as smart as they're sounding. Well, I know my kids are smart, and they do look smart for the most part. But we forget that there's potential inside of people that we don't even know or see yet. And so as a teacher, that is a reminder to me to not just judge the outside and the crazy stuff that I see that sometimes makes me a little bit annoyed. Sometimes you do the same thing with your friends. You judge the outside. You didn't like how they dressed, or you didn't like how they looked at you, and we forget the potential of what's inside. So that little seed has something inside. It's a humble little thing. This little seed doesn't try to flaunt itself and doesn't say, I'm going to be something great. No, it just kind of does what it needs to do, and it just sits there until you finally unpack that potential by giving it the right environment. We just have to cultivate those right conditions. Sometimes we don't even give other people a chance. We look at them, we write them off, we think they're not good enough, we don't want to have anything to do with them, we don't really want to be a part of them, and then we miss out on having some great friends and people in our lives. We have to be careful about that. I see sometimes kids that walk around the playground by themselves because they're not part of our crew. They're not part of our group and our club. We shouldn't have clubs and groups and only certain people together. I want all of us to think about who we are in Christ. Because when Christ made us, he didn't say, oh, well, only these people should hang out together and then these people should hang out together because they're alike and these people. No, God says, I don't care how alike or unalike you are. There's potential in everyone to be a great friend if we give people that opportunity. We need to cultivate those things, and we need to cultivate ourselves, because we might not be what we're supposed to be doing and being right now. Our potential might be hidden. The way that we cultivate that is through God's word. Are we reading God's word? Are we seeking him? Are we choosing to love him like we should? And then, are we choosing our friends carefully? Sometimes those friends that might look good on the outside, we think, oh, they look cool. Oh, look at the jacket that they have on today. I want to look like they do. Or maybe they're not even following school dress code. And we're like, oh, I want to be like them. I want to not follow school dress code and be cool like them. We need to be careful of what friends we're choosing. Sometimes we're like, oh, you look like that. You wore that. Oh, you're pretty lame. You don't even have the name brand. Look at your sneakers. They're not from, Nike or whatever. They're from Walmart. Oh my goodness. I remember a few years ago, I had a class like that they were so concerned about what they looked like on the outside, but their hearts were awful on the inside. And it made me so sad because they would tease parents who wanted to save money and would buy the sneakers from Walmart or from Target, which are just as good. And other kids would make fun of them because they were so focused on the outside and they didn't want to be friends with them. And I thought, how sad that you're missing out on a great friendship because you are looking at the outside. And I've seen those other kids whose parents, brought their shoes at Walmart and whatever. And now they're grown up and they're doing well. They're taking good care of themselves. They've learned how to save money where some of their friends haven't, and they don't save money. They're buying all the newest and latest things. And we have to be very careful about that. People are a lot like seeds. We are miracles too, but too often we don't see our own potential. This is something that we've been working on in 3rd grade, where I start to hear, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart. I'm not going to be able to figure this out. This math problem is way too hard. Oh, this science, I can't. Language, oh, I don't even understand. I don't know what the word is. I don't know if it's a noun or a verb or a pro something. I don't know what these things are. I can't figure out if it's supposed to be a run-on sentence and how to fix it. I don't know. And we don't give ourselves the chance to think, God is in me. If I know him, and he can make me have that potential to know the things that I need to know, to do the things that I need to do. God sees us so differently than we see ourselves. We see all of the failure parts of ourselves, but God looks at us and he looks at our potential. He sees that, yes, they may be just a little tiny seed, that there doesn't seem to be much to them. But I know if I get them in that right place, in that right position, they can grow and do great things. In order for a seed to grow, it has to die in a sense. It has to give up some parts of itself so that it can learn to grow. And then even when it does, it's a little sapling at first. And sometimes it's falling over because it's not strong enough to hold itself up. But eventually, as time goes on, it starts to learn and grow and get stronger and stronger and larger and bigger. And then it becomes a sturdy, firm tree to hold its fruit. Spiritual growth can be that same way in our lives. We can be bent over, leaning over, really needing to trust. And then when we do, God makes us stronger and healthier and growing in him. But we've got to be in his word. We've got to be seeking him. We've got to be trusting him. And we have to understand that we're all unique. God made us that way. How boring would it be if we all looked the same, talked the same, acted the same, dressed the same? God made us all unique, and he created each person in a special way. And he has a plan for each of us, just like he has a plan. If I plant this in the ground, I'm not going to get any beans out of there. I'm not going to get strawberries. I'm not going to get pineapple. I'm not going to get bananas. I'm just going to get corn. When I plant this seed in the ground, I'm not going to get anything other than those garden beans that we talked about. God has a plan, and each person is a miracle. So when we see our friends, all of your friends in your classroom, take a look at everybody in your classroom and recognize these are people that God has put in your life to help you be who you're supposed to be. If we shun them and stay away from them and tell them and think that they're not cool enough, they're not good enough, they're not interesting enough to be a part of us, then we're kind of cutting off what God has for us and ways that he has for us to grow. There are things that God uses, people that God uses to help us to be more like what he wants us to be. Jesus Christ, who did he talk to? Did he talk to all the rich religious people? Many times he just talked to the low down, the Zacchaeuses, the Pauls, the little low people that did not have very much standing with other friends. Who are we going to be like? Are we going to be like what we think is okay? Or are we going to be like Christ and see that we can be a friend to people who may not look like us, or we might think that they don't look right on the outside, but we can be that friend to them? How are you going to be today? God can produce a miracle in your life today. Are you going to believe that God can do things through you? It doesn't matter what you think. This little seed might be like, I'm never going to amount to anything. But when I put it in the ground and I give it the right situation, it does grow. Are you willing to say, Lord, Miss Monroe, Mrs. Nichols, Miss Phelan, Mrs. Colby, Mrs. Galucci, okay, however you want me to grow, I'm going to try to grow. Whatever things you're going to try to plant in my head to help me to be a better student, I'm going to try to do those things so that I can grow in Jesus and grow stronger as a person and grow smarter as a person, that what God would have me to do and who God would have me to be. Even you K4, you and K5, you're little, but you're learning great things now that are going to be great things for you later on. And you can grow in the Lord in those ways. And I hope that you all are thinking, Lord, I really want to grow today. I want to be that miracle, and I want to know my potential and the potential in all of my friends around me, and not be picky and choosy, but learn to love everyone. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening so well, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.